This is a hard group.
There we go.
Okay. Call the meeting to order for the Charter Commission for the Town of Harwich, March 12th, 6:30 p.m. at the Community Center on Oak Street. And we are joined by members of the Capital Outlay Committee because we're going to be talking about capital planning. And also we have Mark Keller here from our Select Board.
Welcome.
And Judith is on remote. And we have a full commission here. And I believe you have a quorum. Madam, if you'd like to...
Yes, I'd like to call to order the Capital Outlay Committee meeting on March 12th at 6:31. And I'd like to introduce, or have my team introduce themselves, perhaps.
Rich Larius.
I'm Ann Clark Tucker.
Paul Doan.
And I'm Martha Donovan, Chair of the Capital Outlay Committee.
Okay. First, I'd like to have us do a couple of things from our agenda, which is the regular minutes of March 5th.
So moved.
Thank you, Richard. Second, Herb. Any corrections, changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next thing is, because we'll spend the bulk of this evening talking about the capital plan and the budget, etc. Can we get through, you all had, from the commission, you all had the memo last week from the Collins Group on the trending of using town administrator versus town manager. And I hope you had a chance to read it. Do we have an opinion that we'd like to have some consensus? Do we want to change the title to town manager?
I make a motion, we move the.
When, are we doing
Hang on.
motion?
No, we don't do a motion. I'm having a consensus.
That's right.
What
I'm
do we
fine with
think?
it. Yep, I'm fine with manager.
Lou?
I don't care either way. Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
I'm fine with it. So at this point,
He's
and
speaking.
Judith, are you okay with town manager?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And just so that the public understands, it's a title change, town manager versus town administrator. It does not automatically change any responsibilities or authorities. The authority of the position is in the charter with its responsibilities and authorities.
Might
Yes,
you
sir.
just mention to the general public, that information is based on information provided by our consultants that did an executive summary for us, stating that trending, we're seeing more and more communities going to town manager, with really no change whatsoever in the responsibilities of either a manager or an administrator. It's strictly a name only.
I'd like to add to that a little bit, because there is no legal definition for
Correct.
either term. And Collins suggested that we are already operating effectively as a town manager.
Right.
So we might just as well memorialize it.
I think it's good, especially when we're taping, even though we don't have joint meetings, but for the public who are watching, all 5 of them, that we explain some of those reasons why we come to consensus on things like
Yes,
this.
I think it's good. And also the fact that, again, that it doesn't change the responsibilities, whether you're town manager, town administrator, or chief secretary. It is all in the job description for the responsibilities and authorities. So we're good. All right, so we will make that proposal for town manager.
I thought the other thing that was interesting was by most other criteria, we're
Already there.
above and beyond most other towns in similar categories.
So I think we're good. Okay, great. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Capital plan and budgets.
Okay, so before we get started, in doing my preparation, Paul had said to me, you might want to have watched our last meeting. Well, I started with the one with the town moderator. I went too far back, but there was something that came up in there that I just want to clarify, and that was the composition and the assignment of our committee. So we decided in our committee meeting that all of us, with the exception of Paul, he was the dissenter, that we were fine with 7 members of our committee, and we were fine with how they were assigned. 2 from town administrator, 2 from the select board, 2 from the finance committee, and 1 from the planning board. So we're fine with that. I know Paul is not, and that's fine. We don't all agree, but I just, there seemed to be some, it didn't seem to be clear that, I wanted to make sure that message got to you
You're okay
clearly.
with having a planning board member?
Yeah,
Because I think
absolutely.
we had talked a bit about eliminating that and having 3 from the select board.
Can I speak to that as the planning board member?
There you go.
So this is not part of ownership. This is the fact that planning right now usually sees multiple years ahead. We're seeing proposals that impact the town at least 3 years ahead. So the idea of having someone from the planning board, not specifically me, is that you see what will be impacting the town before the town realizes it, so that you can bring a perspective of this is going to have a huge impact, whether it's water, environment, streets, or whatever else. And if you don't have that look, you're kind of looking at this year or this month. And it's the only place within the town that you see that far ahead.
Great. Thanks for the clarification. We will make sure that that stays the same.
Great. Well, I do want to thank you for having us tonight. When John Choi reached out to me to talk about, you know, sort of the 2/3 language, I thought originally we were talking about the language that was in the existing charter. However, you know, Paul was trying to send me new language, which, you know, I didn't know what that was. And I reached out to Linda on Tuesday and said, hey, can you send it to us? So we did get it I got it on Tuesday afternoon. I did send it around to the entire team. I guess in retrospect, I didn't read it until today. I just, you know, was on vacation. It's been crazy busy in my house.
And just to be clear, we had asked Sandy to come up with some language. And so we have not agreed as a commission that this language is going in the charter.
Right.
As it is in the document, and the red line at this point is how it is. We haven't made any proposals yet.
Okay.
Just so you know that.
I would have preferred if my team had met separately in retrospect and gone through it, because it really is significantly different than what we submitted. I don't see a lot in what we submitted in it. And that was, I'm gonna be really honest, it was disappointing and a little frustrating to me, because the team spent over August and September 4 or 5 meetings thoughtfully going through the charter, having pretty robust, just like you guys do, pretty robust conversations. Some people agree, some people don't. And I thought we put our best foot forward, but I feel like we weren't heard. And just a couple of examples where we weren't heard, and I'll talk about these.
And just to make sure it's clear, the stuff that the Capital Outlay Committee proposed is what is in the red line.
It feels very, and you know, I haven't gone through it line by line. It would have been helpful if we got an edited version back, so we could have seen the edits that you made and how you changed it. It feels just on the you know, the first glance that I did that it's very different. But we're gonna go forward with an open mind, and I think it would be helpful for us if you could walk through exactly what you're proposing, just short. You know, it doesn't have to be long. How it's different than what we do today, how you envision this working, because I'm concerned about how we implement it, and what benefit do you think it gives the taxpayer above sort of what we're currently doing? And I know you included some of that in there, but I think it would just be helpful for us to hear that.
And the 2 pages that you were sent, those are Sandy's proposal.
Correct.
So I think what's in the red line is pretty much what you had proposed. Go ahead.
And I'll just be candid, if you haven't had time to really look at the red line, or if you haven't had a chance to really look at what Sandy has proposed.
I only saw the red line. I only saw what Sandy proposed. What is the red line?
This is the red line
You
version.
don't have the red line.
Okay, my point being, we can have a great discussion tonight, but it would almost be better if you had a copy of the red line, you look through it, you look at what some of the, because we haven't decided yet.
And what is the red line? Just help
The
us
red
understand.
line is changes that we have suggested to be made to the charter.
And
and
where
then-
do our changes come into that red line? They're not in there.
Yes,
You're in here.
your changes are in the red
Okay.
line edition.
I didn't see them in Sandy's edition, and that
That is correct.
Is
But
what-
Sandy's edition is a different take on
Right.
it. So the stuff that you had, with the exception of keeping the planning board member, is pretty much what's now in the red line. We asked our consultants, we've been keeping
Right.
track of the things that we are going to propose, and they went through the charter, the current charter, and they did put everything together as, you know, the red, a proverbial red line.
so you can understand why I was so upset
Yeah,
when I saw
no.
Sandy's document. That I was like, why did we even go through that? That was my, you know, seriously.
And I mean, I don't mean to be smart, but we can have a discussion tonight, but you haven't read it. You haven't seen the changes that you proposed into the new proposed charter.
So which are we supposed to be looking at? Because it's a little confusing, gentlemen.
Here's the other thing, we haven't come to a conclusion on what we as a charter commission.
Okay, I
wanna put in
still
there.
think we
isn't-
can,
I just make
Yeah.
a comment? It's not about a conclusion, right? You have a conclusion, but this session is for us to give you input.
No,
correct?
absolutely, but and if it's what you sent us, we have it, we've included that already.
So then we're gonna discuss which version tonight.
We're going to just, well,
We wanna
Should
have your
let you
input.
read the red line?
Right.
I mean,
we didn't
no,
get
we
it.
haven't released the red line to people.
Right, okay, that's fine.
So-
So,
But the red line draft
Yep.
that we've been talking about contains your changes that you had proposed.
Okay,
This is
that
what
makes me feel a little better.
I thought that John had talked to you about the possibility of a different way of looking at things. So this is the discussion for tonight.
We just focused on the 2/3 thing, right? Because that was the
That's
one that the
good.
committee has just definitely been not in favor of.
And we've only had a very brief discussion. If you look at 962, and I don't think you have a copy of the charter there, but one of the things it includes is capital outlay shall mean an expenditure that may include the acquisition, construction, or renovation of buildings, infrastructure, equipment, or land having a total cost of $50,000, including any planning funds for any such capital outlay. The only real discussion we've had, which was last week, was taking land out of that.
Yeah, I heard that
Can you
one.
read that part about 50,000?
Sure.
Where are you,
50
Richard?
or
What
greater.
I'm sorry,
page?
962 on the
50
red
or
line.
greater?
Total cost of $50,000, total cost of $50,000, including any planning funds for any such capital outlay. So anything greater than 50,000.
Doesn't say that though.
Yeah, the total isn't the.
Total doesn't say greater.
Yeah, don't take
That's correct.
It needs to be greater.
greater
Gotta be
than. no
greater
total.
than
Let's-
Which is fine, right? And those are some of the wordsmithing we have to do.
Yes.
And really the only thing, and it was a good discussion last week about land.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Let's not get off on that.
No, I
yet,
agree,
okay?
but see, this is the point, it's great to discuss tonight. I think, feel you're handcuffed because you don't have the red line.
Right,
And the red line basically has all of the changes that you recommended already incorporated.
But if we haven't read it, we can't.
And that's my
Would it-
point.
would
is
it
If
be
we
how-
haven't been distributed,
That's
We
correct.
haven't released this.
We
Okay,
have
then
not
what-
released
Okay,
the
okay,
red
okay.
line at all.
Would
We
it-
haven't released the red line.
Okay.
We wanted to get through it once to see if the changes that we had asked for ended up, that Collins got our changes in here from all of our sources. Then we wanted to go through it, and we've made subsequent changes. So I don't think we're ready to be releasing a red line
Okay, fair enough.
until we've actually gone through it. We're almost at the end, and then we have to put our changes into it so that we have something that is, kind of has everything together. For example, we have decided that we're gonna propose getting rid of, is it 5, which is town organization, which has,
oh, agency it says, right?
yeah, but it's all the town agencies. It's town organization.
Oh, okay.
And it's the one that says we're going to have a finance division and a Department of Public Works and a police department. But yet under the town administrators, it says the town administrator, soon to be manager, is the one responsible for proposing changes on the structure of the town and the departments and divisions and da-da-da. So we decided that why would we have the town administrator have the authority to make changes if we put in concrete into the charter, there will be a this, 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 and this. So we're taking that all out. So we've done some changes already, so we're not ready to release a red line to the public to read. And I have had that request. When are we going to see this red line you're talking about? And I think that once we get done, put additional changes in, I think we can look at it and say, yes, this is ready for release.
Okay.
We could, however, provide the part that is relevant to
Sure.
capital outlay, to the capital outlay committee.
And I can do that. It's 2 pages,
And
1 page.
to be honest with you, I think that's better to give them that information, let them have a meeting, look at it, discuss it, and then come back saying, okay, here's the red line
Yeah.
changes. Because we're gonna have to read every section and then repeat every section for people to comprehend what the changes are. I think we're premature tonight.
Okay, well,
Can I-
but
can I
again,
ask
they're here.
Oh, no, I get it.
Let's talk about the 2/3
Yeah, I think
thing.
there's definitely a big gap on the 2/3, so I think we can talk about that. I'm happy to talk about that.
Sure.
But Ann wanted to ask a question, so if you
Sure.
don't mind.
Sure.
Would it be helpful, or do you already know what the capital outlay, what our process is right now and how we meet and go through that?
I was gonna talk about that.
Yeah, because that might be a good place to
Because I think
start.
I think, you know, when we're talking about the 2/3, I think, you know, process, change, scope, risk, complexity, all those things are really important in sort of us talking about that 2/3 change clause. So maybe you can tell us where you are with the 2/3, and then we can talk a little bit.
Not clear where we are with the
Okay.
2/3.
That's
I think
good.
that- I think that maybe Sandy can go through the issue with the 2/3 as to,
Yeah, I don't know the history of it. I don't understand what the purpose of it is, honestly, to be honest, Sandy, I don't.
Well, there was great purpose in the beginning. The original charter established a capital outlay plan and a committee, but it was very loose as to how it operated and what the requirements are. Fast forward a few years, when I was on the board, Dana and I put together the original structure for the capital outlay plan and, you know, how it would operate. And in the beginning, it was basically what you're looking at right now.
This
My
2-page
draft.
document, okay.
And the reason that it happened was because the plan was being jumped over because it was too easy to change it. So in the last minute, one of the town departments would come in with an article that they wanted that was never in the capital plan.
They would come in at what point in the process, let me just so I
It was
understand.
an article.
Oh, they would
Prior
write
to
their
town
own, they would, department heads
Prior
would
to
write
town.
their own articles. Okay,
Been known to happen. So it became very clear that it had to be a little harder to change the plan than just a simple majority vote. So that's what gave, and this language is fundamentally pretty much what we started with. And it was understood that there would be the 5-year, I think was the original one, that would be 1 through 5. The first year would be the capital budget, it would be voted on at town meeting. 2 through 5 would become the basis for the following year's plan, and the committee would add a year 5. And that worked for, many years. I don't know exactly when it changed or what the issue was. And I am digging back through the history to see, because there have been multiple changes in the charter to the capital outlay plan, and it's caused a lot of confusion. I give you that. 2003 was the one I did find, which is sort of interesting, because at that point it was a 7-member committee, and I've got copies for everybody. I'll give you all one.
yeah, please.
But it's a project, so it's gonna take me a while, because I'm just trying to trace the history of what, all the different steps that happened and why. But one of the things that in the town report that the then Capital Outlay Committee stated was, our principal responsibility is to submit to the town administrator a capital plan with a new 7th year added to the last 6 years of plan, approved by annual town meeting in the previous May. So they saw as their responsibility doing year 7. The rest of the plan would remain intact and would require, and there was also a question on the ballot, a charter amendment for the May 1999 annual town meeting and ballot that explained that this amendment would replace the existing Chapter 9, Section 6 capital outlay plan. The amended section would require an extension of the town's capital outlay plan from 5 to 7 years, and it would also require a 2/3 vote of town meeting to approve any capital outlay project which is not included in the approved plan. So that was the understanding then. That was the intention originally of how it should work. And as I say, it worked well. I don't know when it changed, quite why. I've got a lot of digging to do to get to that place.
Right, and I think we just all have to agree that, you know, there's been a lot of change in the world in the last 30 years, right? Like, so we just have a lot of outside influences that we haven't dealt with before. You know, we have less funding from the state, less funding from the federal government, more requirements from the state that say we need to do sewering, and we don't need to do it in 40 years, we need to do it in 22 years, and we have the financial pressure of all the inflations, and I can sit here and list them all. Health insurance, property insurance, wage inflation. I mean, they're just all over the place, right?
Union contracts that are
Yeah,
at 4% and
exactly,
5%.
exactly.
We have a 2.5% cap.
Exactly, and if you listen to me, I think it was a week or two ago, get up at town meeting, it's the select board meeting, all these buckets that we're putting aside here and there of money is causing great stress on the general fund, right? So I think, I think it's really important,
No, this is from.
and sort of how I think the capital outlay looks at a capital plan is that it is our best financial estimate in the year that we do it of what's going to happen over the next 5 years. Are we going to get it right? No, we're not going to get it right. There's no way we're going to get it all right. But it's what we think we need to, and I'm going to call it infrastructure, all those things that Richard talked about, to maintain the infrastructure of the town, right? That's what we need for capital, anything over $50,000. It's got to be flexible. It's a living document. That's how we look at it, because change is what is going to come down the pike. And so, let me just share with you the changes that I've experienced in the 4 years I've been with the town. We're about to be on our soon third town administrator, town manager. We've had 6 new department heads in the last 4 years. IT, wastewater, water, harbor, natural resources, planning. We've had 3 new departments that we've taken on. I'm going to call them department entities in the capital plan. The Harwich Elementary School, when we split with Chatham, the Cultural Center, which was relatively new to us 4 years ago, and now we've been asked to add to our docket the Monomoy Regional School District. Okay, although we don't have a vote, the select board would like us to weigh in on what they're spending, and they want them to get into our loop of how we look at capital, right? We've had 2 departments just this year that came to us and asked us for capital that have never asked for capital before. That was planning and conservation. And they both made sense. So, and we can go through the details of those. I sent you all the year-over-year changes, right? And so my first year, I didn't even put the item that it was, but it was me.
I was trying to follow those.
It was me doing a back of the envelope. The second year, I did it more formally. Look, at the first year when I got here, the capital plan didn't add. We understated the capital plan to the taxpayer by $2 million. And I identified it and said something to somebody who said, it doesn't matter, the first year is the only year that matters. And I was mortified that the document didn't add. I couldn't believe we were putting forward a document that didn't add.
It's all right, 2 years ago, my husband and I were sitting there with the sources and uses statement, and it didn't add.
Yeah,
And we had both
that
of
whole
added
thing
differently,
just sort
and
of
it
sent
was-
me over the edge. But, I've dealt with items that should have been moved to a new year that just got dropped off. You know those?
I sure do.
The Brooks Academy and the
Academy
golf.
vanished.
And I've tried politely to work behind the scenes to see if I can improve things, and we've worked diligently to improve this whole process, because it needed to work better, and part of not working the way maybe it needed to was because we didn't have the transparency that we need. We got that totally with Tony, so thank goodness, and I hope that that's the projection going forward. But just if you look between fiscal year 26 and 27, 34 line items out of 63 line items changed. 54% of the plan changed. So when a majority of the plan is changing, it's not the same plan. As much as we would like to say we just pick it up and move it, that's not what happens in reality. It's not realistic. If we're going to have new people, new department heads, the reason that we hire them is because we want them to do things differently, right? Or maybe they're just replacing somebody who retired, but they're going to come in and they're going to say, I need to make this my own. I have goals that the town administrator's given me, and I need to do things differently. Why don't we have this piece of equipment? We need this to do our job. Why don't we have, I have a car that literally is not going to get me from here to here safely. Why don't I have a new car? Like that car's 265,000 miles on it. Doesn't make any sense to continue trying to, when Kyle says I can't fix it anymore, you're out of luck, right? Because Kyle knows what he's doing. So I think we have to be realistic about what the financial plan is. It's going to change every year. And I don't understand how we think that we are gonna ask taxpayers to vote at town meeting on 34 line items. That's a lot.
Well, I don't think anybody's asking the taxpayers to vote on 34 items.
On those 34,
On those- I think the objective is, if the plan was, I think the concept is, you've got years 1 to 5, and I'm gonna call the whole thing the capital plan.
correct,
Before we get into this is the budget, this is the plan.
right.
The
The
capital
plan, that's what we call it, yep,
Because there are articles that will fund year 1.
correct.
It's the whole thing is the plan, and that it just moves over a year and you add a 5th year. And I think that the changes is that's what's at issue here, is should all those changes, because I understand that you may want a new roof in year 5, but all of a sudden it's caved in and it sort of moves up to year 1 pretty fast. Should that take a 2/3 vote or not?
And
To
an
change the capital
argument,
plan. I think it's the 2/3 issue. Because
Right.
I think we
So-
understand that we ask, people put in projects, they go into the capital plan, depending on where they are, we're trying to even out what we do to the taxpayers on the tax base. I think we all get that there's a lot of review done, that somebody says, I need a new roof, we think it's gonna cost this, I think it'll last this long, this is why we need it. And you guys make those kind of proposals and stick it in the capital plan. But I think what we're talking about here is the 2/3 issue.
right, so let me just keep going and
Sure.
digging my hole here, I get it. You know, just statistics, since August 1st, we've met 13 times. We've done 2 site visits. We go out and we kick the tires. At the DPW we went this year, and we also went to the Harwich Elementary School. We went to the boiler room. We looked at the roofs. We reviewed $61 million in requests over the 5-year period in a $7.7 million budget in the current year. That is somewhere between, it depends on how you count them, 110 to 125 items, projects that we reviewed. That's this book, right?
Yes.
We met with 11 departments and the Monomoy Regional School District. And let's talk about the process, because I think this is really important. I'm going to get to a point after I go through the process. But I would just remind you that all our meetings are public, right? Anybody is welcome to come to our meetings. They're on YouTube. Everybody's welcome. The department heads will go out and they'll develop their requests. They put a form together with support, justification, cost estimates. This is the first year in my 4 years that we've gotten that. Tony sent that through to us. That was incredibly helpful for us to evaluate.
And that was happening back when I was on the select board.
Right.
All those requests with its documentation and all the stuff went to the capital outlay.
Correct.
So
Did not.
Yes, I was disturbed to see that had
Yeah.
stopped, because if I say, this is what it is, and I don't give you any documentation,
It's hard
I
to
don't know how
figure it
you can
out.
make a vote.
Right.
I want to hear the process.
Okay,
Go
so then the department heads, they've developed their request. It's a standard form, it's got all the justification. They meet individually with the town administrator, right? Town administrator may say, sorry, Richard, your project doesn't help me get to my goal that the select board has given me. Your project is not on the list. And I ask everybody, I hope I did, is there anything, or I asked Tony at the beginning, what didn't get included, right? Like, that's a good question to know. I'm sure there are things that the town administrator is saying, sorry, don't have the money, not happening, not my priority right now. And that's what you hire, you guys have said you want a town manager, a strong manager. That's what their job is to do. The town administrator then prepares, from all those requests, their 5-year plan. They submit it to us, right? And this year, before he submitted it to us, we had a discussion about the fiscal message that went from the select board to the town administrator, and then the town administrator shared his fiscal message to the department heads. So we know that we're sort of on the same page, right? The TA will present that budget to us, and then we meet with every department head, and we ask questions, we make suggestions. So one of the suggestions we made this year, because I was kind of adding in my head, I said to the IT director, you have 2 projects, you're looking for $350,000, and you have, I don't remember what it was, $500,000 between those 2 projects that you haven't spent yet. Do you really need the $350,000? And Tony said, I don't know, we'll come back to you. And the next week he came back and he said, we're taking those off because they don't need that money. They got some grant money that increased their ability to do some funding. One of the projects is the documentation project where they're scanning boxes. It's moving very slowly. That's going to take time, 10-year project, right? So thank God we took that $350,000 off because we don't have the money to pay for it this year. But those are the kinds of questions that these people ask that impact. And with Tony, I will say, it was a very much a give and take. He would say, let me go back and have a conversation with the department head. And sometimes he came back and he said, nope, we need it. And that was fair enough, right? Then we have, and this is really important, and I know, Sandy, in your version you took this out, but the TA presents funding to us. We don't vote on funding, but we need to know the funding so that when we vote, we make sure, we don't have the tool that we need. This is the best tool we have right now. Is debt sort of level? We don't know that because we don't have the tool. We've been asking for it. John Tory just asked for it last week. I asked for it 4 years ago, and they looked at me like I had 4 heads. It's getting better. It is getting better, though.
Can I just, when I say funding source, I'm not talking about figuring out what the funding needs to be. I'm talking about figuring out where that money's gonna come from. because-
Yeah, that's what this is.
That's what she's.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So he tells us for the first year, we want to see for all the out years. So typically, if you have, an ambulance, you raise excluded debt for that ambulance, right? So let's just say that maybe we would have money to pay for it out of free cash if we were lucky. But let's just do what we typically do. It's a plan, right? So let's plan it like we normally would.
Can I interject, because I want to go back to that IT example, because the project was still there. It was funded from another place.
No, it was, so there were 2 projects, right? One was for Sarah when she came in, and remember, she's a one-person department. God love her, she has done
But you
great
said
work.
they found additional funding.
So
elsewhere.
on the documentation, on documenting all the town records, they did get some grants. So, but we had given them a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, they got 100,000, they got another 100,000 the next year. They were up for their 3rd round of, and they will get 100,000 for
the
10
same
years.
project, for the same project?
Same project.
Okay, so the project stayed on.
This project's still going, it's ongoing.
It was not funded, but the project was still on.
Right, so
And
this is
that-
one of those where, you said the total is 50,000. This is one that's 10 years, it's gonna be $1 million, right?
And that's my whole point. Is the plan still has the projects on there.
Yes.
And whether or
Yes.
not it's funded, but
Yes.
the actual project stays on the plan.
Yes.
We didn't take the project off, no. They just have funding to cover this year.
Can I ask a question, because Mr. Larios,
You're already starting to, so go
thank you.
ahead.
Mr.
Yes,
Larios,
Richard.
you were chair for many years.
Yes, 15.
How many times was there a change, was it voted at town meeting to make the change?
It was never voted. It was, let me go back to go back in time when the theory was, the out years, plug a number in.
Yeah.
They were called placeholders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? Again, it depended on the town manager, town administrator to say how he wanted it presented. It went back to when Jim was here, which was very detailed, and then it sort of lightened up, and then it got very detailed, and when Joe was here, we knew nothing. Okay?
We're trying not to use names.
Well,
Please.
I gotta explain what
I know.
town manager
Each town manager had
has
their
a
own,
different
Yeah.
their own
personality,
style, right.
okay? I don't wanna say our latest temporary one, totally different. Prior to him, our permanent one handled it very differently. Also, the select board became much more involved in terms of seeing what the capital plan looked like and how it would become effective and what out years were important. And the outstem from the out years is what we're really talking about, is how do you take a number and change it from year 2 to year 3 by getting a vote? We never went through that. We just presented the plan with out years numbers being put in, and then the following year, it just changed. And that became, like you said, the plan. We didn't look at it as the budget year. The budget year was what was being voted by the articles. And then at 7 years, it was 5 years or 6 years out. And then, guess, maybe 5 or 6 years, it was driven, it was driven to 5 years. Maybe you were there then. which made more sense.
So bottom line,
Yes.
the charter was not being followed. And I'm.
Well,
no, no,
we
wait.
had a legal
Right,
interpretation.
no, let me just,
Right.
understand, we're not casting aspersions on anybody.
No,
What we're talking about,
The charter was never taken into effect,
I get it.
into the discussions while the numbers were being
I
paired,
get it.
nor by the select board when it came to charters for capital outlay
So,
dollars.
so you can understand where we're coming from as a charter commission. We're looking to say, we wanna get back to following the charter,
Right.
having it clear,
Right.
so that everyone can follow the charter, and for every respective committee, select board, town manager, to do their job.
Oh, I understand it, but the theory that should be behind that is understanding what are the parameters that are given to each committee or commission or whatever.
And absolutely, and if a
And
town-
the understanding of how we have to operate from a numbers standpoint. You're talking about a bunch of people, 7 of them, that discuss numbers every week.
Sure.
And so it's totally different.
Well, and thankfully, we have good numbers of people. You know,
Well,
that's.
well, you certainly do.
No, but the point being is that doesn't matter who town manager is, doesn't matter who's sitting on the select board. Each party has to do their job according to the charter.
Correct, but we believe that the 2/3 vote should not be
I
in the
no, and
charter,
that's-
so
I'm glad
that's
another-
where
that's
we are
another
with
issue.
that.
But I'm talking about from a political issue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of political impact when it comes to the numbers. And I think our committee really gets hit hard, number one, when we don't know, or when we decide something and another committee talks to the select board and they change it without our knowing about it.
And our clarification is to say, that should not happen.
And
The politics needs to be
it has
set
taken
aside.
us a number of years.
To get
I've
there.
been working behind the scene to kind of win some influence and some stature so that they'll say, oh, we trust you. Because they didn't know who I was. So it's gotten a lot better, and it has.
She's doing a great job. Before me, Pete Watson, okay? Who was the, the Paul Dome
Some of
of
these
the,
guys
of
don't
the
remember
numbers.
Pete, but
Yeah,
I know
okay.
Pete. That's-
Well, his interpretation of what the capital outlay plan worked for many years.
Yes.
Gave it to me, it worked.
Yeah.
And now we're becoming much more analytic. She's more analytic than I was, okay? And I think what we have to do is talk about it and really understand what the 7 people that are sitting on the capital outlay committee and the finance committee,
Whoever.
They're not here, but
No,
no,
finance.
yeah,
They're
but
in
he
their
used to
finance
be
meeting.
finance, he used to be finance, but
I used to be fine.
yeah, well, that's,
And I was
I did too.
finance.
We
Yeah,
won't
I-
hold
I
it
did-
against you.
I did I took over Lamakia's place, I was there 10 years, so there's a lot of change that has to be done, and understanding.
Okay,
Jump in.
actually, before you go,
Hang on.
Paul, could you take the paper off the mic, just in case?
Oh, geez, yes.
Thanks, Paul, nobody heard
Go
me.
ahead, sorry.
So if I
Okay,
may,
hang on a minute. Are you done speaking?
Sure.
Okay, Lou next.
He jumped in.
So if I may,
Yes.
what I'm hearing is it's really not about the 2/3 vote. That's here. What it's really about is saying that the capital outlay committee, needs flexibility in order to do its job.
I think the TA needs flexibility, right? I think I think the department heads need flexibility in order to meet their goals and objectives. They need to be able to make changes.
And so, I'm in agreement with that.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
I look at the plan as a real living plan. That's how I see a capital outlay plan. As a matter of fact, in my own head, I don't see projects. I see boxes with numbers, and then I can move the numbers around to make it fit. That's the only way I can conceptualize the plan. I can't think of, gee, this roof is $20 million and that school is I can't do that. But if I can say, oh, I got a box that's filled with 20 million and I can only spend in these years, because there's a limitation in planning also, X amount of money. So therefore, how do I switch? And I need that flexibility. That's how I view what you do. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, but I think, I can give like extreme examples, but let's say Jay comes in and he says, hey, I'm gonna put a moratorium on any debt until I can get a handle on debt. Everything on that plan that would be paid for by debt gets shifted. Let's say he says, I'm gonna put a 2-year moratorium. Let's say the select board says, we're gonna have, level spending, right? They've said level services. We're getting to level spending.
Yes.
You know, my boss used to call me the canary in the coal mine, and I think she said, I always know when things are coming because you're going to tell me. But let's say we get to level spending, and he says, I need my free cash to pay to, you know, equalize the budget somehow, right? Anything we would pay for free cash is going to get affected in the plan, right? And I'm being using an extreme, but you know, we don't know where that, you know, COVID came in and all of a sudden there were supply side issues, right? We have tariffs and all of a sudden things are more expensive. You know, those changes we can't plan for no matter what we do, right? I get, you know, I understand that department heads don't want to be hopped over. However, if there are priorities that are more important, you get hopped over. That's just how it goes. So,
And that's the point we were making. You look at the boxes with the money, all well and good, but the roof has got a hole in it. It's gotta be fixed.
But it's the box, you can still move the
But you're
box.
saying if we have to move the box
Then something
to
else
fix
goes.
the roof,
Then
Yeah.
something else
we
goes.
gotta go get a vote?
Yeah, that's
That's
really
the bottom
so
line.
can I continue on the process because I want to make a point with it.
Get to the process,
Okay.
because we only have a certain amount of time, and I
Okay,
wanna get to
so
that 2/3 vote.
we all vote individually for every item in the plan year, in the budget year, and then we vote in total for everything years 2 to 5. And if somebody wants to take something out and vote against it, we remove it out of, you know, our motion. Then we go for the finance committee, the joint meeting with the select board and the finance committee, right? The finance committee will, the select board can go off and ask questions. Mark this year brought back some people to ask some questions to. Then the finance committee also gets it. They do their process, very similar to ours. They might not see every department, but they do basically the same process as we do. Then it goes to town meeting for vote. And my understanding is if it's a lease agreement or general debt, it requires a 2/3 vote. And if it is excluded debt, which blows me away, it's a majority vote with a majority ballot vote, right?
Debt is also
General
a ballot.
General debt does not have a ballot vote. It's, if you pay it from the general fund, you just have to get a 2/3 vote. And I went back and I looked
Okay,
at,
got it, yes.
Yeah.
But if we're going to charge, we're gonna have big debt, it's a
yeah,
ballot
if you're gonna
question.
do the
Yes.
surcharge to the taxpayer,
Yes,
you gotta go
yes.
to the, you don't need a 2/3 vote. You need
No,
a
you just
majority
need-
vote and you need a
need a
ballot
ballot
vote,
vote.
right? So I would argue to you that the capital plan is one of the most vetted budgets in this town. More so, I think, than CPC, the operating budget, the school budgets. The review process for it is very robust. So I'll ask this question. Why would you do all that work, all those reviews, the discussions, and put at risk that budget that you just spent all the time for at a 2/3 vote at town meeting? Why would you risk it? And then what are you doing? You're scrambling. And I know, Sandy, you're going to say, well, they always vote for it. I get it. The taxpayers in Harwich are generous. And my head spins sometimes within the first 10 meetings of town meeting when they've spent $85 million. And I'm like, nobody's asked a question. What's going on here? That my first time, I was like, what is this? But why would you risk it? It's not zero. So that then what are you doing? You're letting the taxpayers pick your priorities? That's the role of the town administrator and the select board, not the taxpayer. If you want us, let's do a 2/3 vote on the whole dang plan. Make it easy. But I just don't see how you're gonna vote on 34, of those 34 line items, 2 of them were price changes only. Every other one was.
Price changes don't require a
Right, but
vote.
there were only 2 of those, Sandy, is what I'm saying. Of the whole 34 changes, 2 were just a price change. The rest were deletions. Are you gonna, if we have to put a deletion forward, are you gonna say, hey, I want you to spend that money in IT? They can't force us to spend money we don't have. Can't do
Well,
it.
I think let's separate spend, which is over here with articles, and specifically talk plan. so that the plan changed.
Right.
So regardless of what is being funded or not being funded, or whether it's 2/3 vote on a ballot or blah, 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 leave that aside. We're talking about the plan production itself. So leave the funding, I think, out of the
And that's
equation.
fine, but 34 items changed.
I understand, that's why we're having this conversation, I think, which is, should the changes be put to a 2/3 vote? That's the
I think
question.
you're premature. I have
Go
a
ahead.
question, I have a question on your process.
Mm-hmm.
When you meet with finance, then you meet with the select board.
We meet
All
together
three.
as a
Oh,
joint.
joint,
Joint.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Rejoin.
It's your plan.
Yep.
With the town administrator.
It's actually
It's
the
his
town
plan.
administrator's
His
plan.
plan.
Well, it says in conjunction.
It's his
No,
plan.
it's his plan, it's the
It's
town
his plan.
administrator's plan.
He owns it till he hands it over to the select board, and then the select board owns it. And if they want us to take another look at something, they have to agree to that.
Okay, so our red line includes town manager in conjunction with the capital outlay
We,
committee.
Yeah,
we prepare it
we
with him.
prepared for him. That's the conjunction. It's his plan
And-
to
and-
present.
okay, and see, here's one of the issues we're talking about, the clarity of this document. Because that's a big key. Who owns who is responsible for that particular plan?
Town
Is
manager.
it town manager or is it capital
Right, and
outlay?
you remember
Town
this year,
manager.
Don Howell got up at our first, we had an early joint
Yeah,
meeting, right?
yeah.
He got up and he said, well, the capital outlay committee prepares the capital budget. And I said, no, we don't.
We can't.
We don't have the information, right? Once
So
we,
let me get back to so then the town manager
Right.
ultimately has responsibility for the capital outlay plan.
absolutely, it's his plan.
And is it changed by the select board or the finance committee?
Yes,
Can be.
can be.
Or the
Finance
capital
committee
outlay.
last year did changes without notifying the capital outlay. And it went forward to town meeting without knowing.
See, and this is where the gaps that we need to try to really tighten up.
Well,
It's
I do
between
think
the
Sandy's
select
language-
board and the finance committee, if they decide to change something.
And it needs to bounce back.
And I do
agree
think
with
Sandy
wholeheartedly.
captured
Yeah, it
that
To be honest,
language.
if I'm sitting in your shoes
It
and they
never-
do that,
Of
I'm
course,
furious.
Well, you didn't know me then.
Time.
it did not bounce back to us.
That's a
That's
Business
one,
back.
let me give you my
Wait a
final,
minute.
my
I'm
final
also
one.
gonna ask a question, your advisory.
Yes,
Yes.
We
So
have
at
to be
some point,
advisory.
the advice ends
Right.
and management takes over.
right.
But, you
They
know,
are able
Just to
to,
say that.
any changes to that plan is still eligible to the night of town meeting. So if the select board or the finance committee, I'm just past
because
it,
John's former finance committee.
Heard before.
decides to make a change that night, they can change it
Mhm.
without our vote.
Short of adding a new item that requires an article to fund it.
So
We're
I'll
not
give you an
talking
example
funding.
of that one, Sandy. Last year, I happened to be at a select board meeting, and they were going through the articles, and there's an article for 35 million for the Great Sands Lake.
Yeah.
And I lost my stuff,
Yes, you did.
because how can you
And you
say
were
that's
right to.
not a capital item? How can you say that? And yet, that's what we were trying to do.
I remember that.
And I was like, that can't be.
So we rest our case.
So we have a harbor master, new harbor master,
Mhm.
Yes, we do.
who has announced that he needs $500,000 worth of new boats last month.
Correct.
Yep.
How come John never asked for it? I mean,
Well, I don't know. I mean,
should
the
have
big
been in
boat
years
is-
ahead.
The big boat is a 2014. Boats usually last a whole lot longer.
Well,
than
one of
10
them is
years.
a 1974 that's
Oh.
in.
Well, let's not argue that.
That's
Let's-
all
let's-
right.
let's-
Let's
That's a
get to
capital
that.
outlay
This
issue.
is to what Matt's
We're taking a
eyelashes.
whole
But
new
that's,
turn
but
there.
that's kind of the point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, the bottom line with your process.
Yep.
We hear is there any change to the process, any additional process?
No, and if it comes back, if something,
Okay,
you know, we're
so-
trying to make that connection that, you know, we had two things get added at the last minute this year, and they did come back through,
And
which
the
was
bottom line,
helpful.
or the therefore is, how many town managers have we gone through? I won't name
No, I
names.
get it.
No, wait,
I get it.
let me just finish.
Yeah.
We've gone through it
Hmm?
since 2007 or 8.
Mhm.
Five,
3 too many.
6, and each one interprets the charter and the capital outlay issue differently.
And
And-
each
and-
one
Gee, we
gets,
did it,
and each one gets an opinion from our current legal counsel to
Yeah.
support
Right,
whatever
and
it is they want to do.
gee, when I was with Dedham, it looked like this, when I was in Wakefield, it
We
looked
don't
like
care
this.
about that. What we
But-
care
but
about,
that's-
no, but what we're saying is our job is to clean the process up.
And that's why we're giving it back
But
to
you're
you.
never going
I'd have to
to,
vote, 50%, we'll walk out of here like that.
but you're never going to,
Town vote.
be able to legislate all of the
No.
issues, right?
No,
We're
no,
doing
no,
this
you're
in the
not.
federal government
Right.
right now, and I won't get into
Right. There's always
politics,
gonna be
but
some politics.
there's always gonna be a rule breaker, there's always gonna be somebody who doesn't follow the process, who thinks they're smarter than everybody else. They're always out there,
And here's
right?
the difference now. This charter, we're looking at putting guidelines in place. We're looking at putting compliance in place.
How about penalties?
That within,
That's-
we're being nice and saying guardrails and compliance.
No, it's not.
I'm from Jersey.
Okay.
Penalties.
I feel, wait a minute, one at a time, please, ma'am.
I feel obligated to bring up this other issue, that the capital plan has no funding source. Okay? And if you're gonna do something, let's designate a funding source, right? Every year we're hearing the same thing, maintenance deferred, buildings getting older. If we put it off another year, it's gonna have a multiple effect, right? We have no way, that we don't have a standing fund or anything that is funded that will fund capital. And we are an aging town with aging infrastructure. It doesn't make any sense.
We made a suggestion this year, which was not accepted, that they spend, $100 grand or so in a consultant to go through our buildings
Yes.
and rank them, and rank what needs to be done in them, so we could put together a real plan, like,
When are
wouldn't
they
that
gonna
be nice?
fail, right?
Got it? But that's also not the conversation here.
Yes.
Because
I would
that's
ask,
a
I would like
project.
to ask, how many other towns have that sort of 2/3 vote requirement?
0. I can tell you, 0 on the Cape.
Paul, this one. But the thing is,
0.
it also, back to, can I get back to, so we have a process. And the process people, da-da-da-da-da. You're an advisory board. Once you make your votes, it goes to, the town administrator owns the plan. Are we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
TA owns the plan.
Yes.
That's the, TA owns it. Once it's in the TA's hands, it goes to the select board and finance committee. At that point, do you want to legislate that any changes has to go back to capital outlay?
Yeah, I do, I think that's,
That's the,
the
because those are the
appropriate-
questions we're trying to get to here.
so your point about jumping the gun,
You're
right?
jumping over. it,
Make
yeah.
them go through this, at least make them go through the same process,
I
and
think
make the
that's-
TA come up with some sort of funding source.
I think that's part of that.
Funding is still outside.
No, I know, but you can't bring it
Funding is
forward.
outside this conversation.
Right, okay.
Funding is a problem because you don't know from one year to the next. I mean, we had to wait and wait and wait on DOR this year
Yeah.
to come up with
Right, right.
the
Yeah.
numbers.
100%.
You don't know.
You don't.
Can't know.
Right.
All you can know is the year you're in, and sometimes you're really not even sure about that.
However, conveniently, our prior
This
town
is-
administrator used to put it off long enough that we were at town meeting before we saw
Set
it.
them
So,
aside.
new
Okay.
jet, new
Moving
day,
forward.
Tony told
New
me.
day.
Moving forward.
New jet.
Moving for, again, so you would like to see legislated into the, when I say legislated, put in the charter that once capital outlay votes a plan, that any changes must go back through the capital outlay for review. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and I believe Sandy
I got that.
captured that
So
well.
I'm looking for a yes or no here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a yes. What does the commission think about that?
I agree, I believe
Clearly,
that's-
I agree with it. I put it
Thank
in
you.
there.
No, I think that's,
Yeah.
if I were you, it's a lot of work, and you guys talked about the times you've met, we've met every
Yeah,
week
I know.
since a year ago, May, and, we understand the work that's
a lot
going
of
into
work.
it. Yes, it should be there, it should go back for at least a
So
review.
is
Well,
that
we've
a
got that here.
consensus
Yeah.
that that's,
Except- no,
we
no,
would like to
I mean,
put
I
that
have a
in?
statement.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm always the one that's never in consensus at
The
first. so-
representative from West Harwich will speak.
Yes. I understand where you're coming from, but let's look at the TA's position. You've presented a plan. Forget year 2 to year 5. It is now, I've got to take this to town meeting. You're expecting him to say, once that plan is solid, and if he's working with you, that's fine. But if he gets a plan and he's not working with you, now you've taken away all the TA's responsibility, or excuse me, now manager, we call him? The manager's responsibility. So there needs to be flexibility there too, somehow, that says, an internal process, to me, is where you have the finance committee the manager and the capital outlay with an internal process that says this is how we will function as a group. I have difficulty in saying that's a charter issue, that you will always
Oh, you
function
have
this
to
way.
vote with the charter.
Okay?
Well,
I'm
it-
looking at, I
hear
hear what
you.
you're saying, but I believe it's a process within the organization.
Rather than a legislative.
Exactly.
That's why I'm using legislated,
I hear you.
because that means the language is in the charter.
I mean, that is how it worked this year.
Okay, but what do we
gotta get a new
want
one.
in the charter?
Yeah, I don't think
Because
that's a
the
big
one-
request. I
because
think
one
that's
of
a
the
reasonable
things
request.
That we have been struggling with is putting stuff in the charter because we didn't like the way somebody did it.
That's right.
But you can have all the rules and you want,
Yes,
but
I
they're
agree
still
with that.
human beings who are doing the process.
Yeah, no, but I do think that what you're forcing by making it come back through is that the requester has to fill out the form, like I made Duncan Berry fill out a form this year. I'm sure he loved it, but he had to justify it in writing, and then we had to review it. Like then he came in front of us. He had to come in front of us and put together, a presentation, an argument for why that was important. So, and what we learned in that process is we could take one off and replace it, and so it actually worked out financially. But I know we're not talking about funding.
But again, okay, so you would say you wouldn't be in favor of putting it in the
I would say this, I would be in favor of putting in a charter that there needs to be a process between the three groups. I wouldn't say this is the process.
Well, that leaves it so wide open.
That's too wide
The
open.
three, there aren't four groups, including the Board of Selectmen, there's three, there's the town administrator, there's the finance committee, and there's the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so if we have all three
We
here,
are supporting the
Town
town,
administrator.
okay?
Well,
No, we
advisory.
support.
Select board advisory to the warrant.
They are advisory to
To
the
the
town
town manager.
administrator.
Town administrator.
I would say our
Sorry, my
second
bad.
function is it's the one place where there's sort of a public hearing on
Sure,
each of the
every-
items, right? And that was my focus. It should have the same public hearing that all the other projects did. So,
Can I
so,
make a
Okay,
suggestion?
hang on a minute, Sandy.
You all want to go back and study your red line copy
Yes,
and talk about that. And I would like to see us get together with our new TA at some point.
I would agree,
Very
Sandy.
soon, because he's the one who is coming in to hopefully help us straighten out all these processes and has experience, I'm sure, with all of this from where he came from quite successfully, I'm told. And I think that it would be, and we've got a lot of other things that we're talking about that I'd like to hear from Jay when he's here, and sooner rather than later. And, whether we talk to him as a committee and you talk to him as a committee, or we all talk to him together as a committee, I have a feeling we might be looking at several meetings with him. Just
yeah, we're not gonna talk to him till mid-April. That's when we're on his
April.
schedule.
These guys can come back in again,
April's,
too.
right here,
pardon?
it's coming.
These guys can come back in again.
Well, that's
Oh,
Capital outlay.
absolutely, yeah. They've been fun.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's,
We do a lot, we see all of how things are paid
The
for.
biggest crowd we've ever
I
had.
have some of the strangest information in my head now, cause I know how all the, helmets are paid for and the vests are paid for, and when the tasers go out, which I never knew before, who makes fire engines and who doesn't. I mean, all the stuff that you gain through all of these things, and the takeaway is, when you get right down to it, on the things that cost so much, we don't do enough preventive maintenance, and our buildings are old. That's really the takeaway.
Maintenance has always been an issue.
That's a problem across Massachusetts, and probably because I know that I came from the
Across the country.
city of Newton.
True.
And we watched my husband and I, we walked every day, and we watched a wall at the high school, and a decorative wall. And first there was one brick that fell out. Then there was 2 bricks, then there was 3 bricks, and finally you could have gotten a mason, whack, 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 put it back together. Oh no, we couldn't do that. What they did is they waited until the thing fell apart enough so that we had to build a new high school. So I get it.
And
Right.
so that has been my
That's
There was
point.
100, that was like, that's
That-
Newton.
yeah, had it
Well,
been
no,
Chestnut Hill, it would have
That's
been.
exactly what Harwich did too.
And that's what
So,
I
and that's what I've said at the meetings and at the select
But
board
we-
meeting is, we can't afford to replace these buildings. When you look at the price of a new building, it's jaw dropping, right?
It is.
I
We
tell
need-
I tell the story of Brewster where they were gonna either upgrade their elementary school or they were gonna knock it down and build a new one, right? So it was 40 million or 50 million, and they think they're discussing the difference between 10 million. And I'm saying, there's 156 kids in that school. When you put it, the price, either one of them, divided by 156 kids, that's an outrageous number.
Yes, it is.
It blew me away. It just blew me away.
But then again, that has been an outstanding issue. If you look at the town budget, the town budget is what? 75% is, at least 75% is salaries, wages, health insurance, pension, etc.
And that's getting worse.
And it's getting
We've
worse
gotten
and
off
worse.
track
But
from
we
where
are.
we
we
were.
are.
And we talked process, you know, your big next thing is just really the 2/3. That's the
Yeah,
next big
yeah,
thing on
we
your
just
list.
are,
And
just,
you do not agree with the 2/3.
Right.
Okay, we hear that.
Is there anything else you wanna?
Can I ask a question?
but I
An
just
outside
really,
question?
I hope that I've made the point that I think if we have to have 34 votes for the changes on town meeting, I'm not sure how you do it.
And anything could happen.
Well, you could have one vote, an
One vote,
omnibus
just
vote
one
for
vote.
all.
Well,
the
then I
changes.
think you just apply a 2/3 vote to the whole plan.
Oh, that could be done.
I'm fine with that, but I don't understand why the capital plan needs a 2/3 vote and the operating budget doesn't, right? And I think this year Jen is putting a 5-year operating budget plan together, isn't she? I thought I saw a rough draft of one, maybe I'm wrong.
We've had them in the past.
Okay, so, but we don't say, hey, in the operating budget, you have to pick up this year and move it over. We don't say that, right? Why is this different, you know?
Because I can't answer that. I mean,
I don't
can't
get it.
answer
It's not logical to me.
We'd like to come back.
Okay, so let's have the parameters of coming back. I will get to you the section on the red line.
Great.
Okay,
That
Under
is
capital
just the capital outlay piece, so you can see what's in there. That'd be one. I think the second thing is, I think everybody needs to chew on a couple of these topics, all of us. Like, should changes go back to the COC,
Question.
bless you, if the capital outlay has voted a plan, should any changes subsequent to that go back to the capital outlay? And I'm talking legislative, not process. So do you wanna legislate that in the charter? We have to think about that.
okay.
So I'd like all of us to think about
The
that.
more that's legislated in black and white, it makes our life a lot easier.
Yes, it
Because
does.
we always go back and look and say, is that 50,000 or greater than 50,000?
Well, no matter who's sitting in what chair,
You got it.
TA,
Right.
select board, that it's going to be the
Right.
same.
100%, 100%.
And do
So
your
that's-
job, and if you don't,
You're
here are
right,
the
go.
guidelines, right?
Right,
Right.
yeah, go back to Newton.
May I ask that?
Are
one
there
question?
other things? I'm making a list here.
I think those are the two
Okay.
things, is that this
Then we go
whole, I
back.
think everybody needs to think about, again, step back, and what do they think about this 2/3 vote issue? So I want you to all think about that, and be prepared the next time we have the capital outlay people back. I hope you'll come back, Martha.
Yes, I'll come back. I'm much better now. I was a little heated when I got in here about, I was like, "Wah!"
Stabbed in the back.
Martha, we're a fun.
As my brother says, do you know her? Like, do not mess with her, because when
I
she's mad,
remember
she's mad.
The other Richard, he was
Can I bring up two
But
other
I just,
issues?
those are the issues,
Yes.
those are two of the issues, that's one. The 2/3 vote is two,
And the third is the town manager owns the
who
plan.
owns the capital, yes, who owns the plan,
We have
that's
no doubt
three.
it's the town
And I
manager.
think, to me, it's no doubt, it's the town administrator.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, but we need to,
We should have
black
that.
and white.
Can I ask, or can I just make two other comments, because I think they were
Certainly.
made in Sandy's edit, and I just want to make sure we're all clear. So funding is vitally important to our decision-making, even though we don't vote on it, so please don't take it out.
Not
and-
planning on taking it
Yeah,
out.
and the plan that we present, or the town administrator presents, has funding to the select board. We would like to see more of that funding. That's a thing we can work, doesn't
But
have
that's
to be
process
legislative.
as
Right.
opposed to charter.
Right, and the other thing about the 50,000, because we did have this discussion with Tony, and he thought 50,000 was a reasonable number. I want to be clear that,
Is it too low?
no, and we
No.
had that discussion.
So
And
you think 50 is
here's-
okay?
Here's one reason why it's not too low, and I don't want to see us change it, especially right now. There's that, Mark's familiar with the proposal that's out to Chatham about the assessment. I think I brought up at the joint meeting that there are 3 different sort of limits of what is capital, or definitions for capital, where Chatham has 25,000, we have 50. And I think the school, I don't remember, but they play both sides of the fence. Like, and I said to the select board, if we ever, because there are some people who believe that what we should agree to with Chatham, or what should be proposed, is we at least, pay 50-50 for the capital items, right? Because you need a school whether you have 1 or 5,000 kids, right? You need a building, and so why should we pay 80%? They need a building too, right? So what if we came up with that 50-50? I don't know that that's gonna happen, but we would all have to get on the same page about what capital is. Right now, the way it works in the school is if there's a big project like the siding or the roof, then they go out and they issue debt. But anything else, they just pay for it with their funding through the assessment, right?
Mhm.
So if we were to go to that, I don't think having that big a gap between 25 to 100, I think it's a lot harder to bridge that gap. I don't think we need, and 50,000 is very reasonable. The other concern that I
And that's
have,
50,000 for the whole project, so it's
if
50,000
you
in
spend
1 year.
25 in 1 year and 25 in the next, that
It's
gets on the
50,
capital
yeah, got
project. The other reason we don't want to change it, and this was a discussion with Tony, then anything from 50,000, let's say we change it to 100 goes into the operating budget. He doesn't have no town manager is going to have the flexibility to put that into the operating budget. It's better to leave it in capital and struggle to pay it there than I think putting it in the operating budget.
Any other comments?
Just
Luke, go
one
ahead.
Wait, I have to
quick
call.
question. You mentioned maintenance and no maintenance budget.
Well, maintenance is deferred.
Right. Let's assume that you could write it, I would write you a check right now today, so it'd be small. But you had a figure that you could think of to use. What would it be if you had it?
For maintenance of what?
Anything. Every year you can say, I have 5 million that I can spend, 3 million that I can spend on maintenance, which we don't have right now, which we have to go all over the place to get.
Well, that's why we would like to do this assessment and have the consultant come in and tell us
Tell us
what we
where
need to
it
do.
But the maintenance, from an accounting standpoint.
I know it doesn't matter.
No, it's on the operating side of the business.
It
It's
is.
not capital.
But it becomes capital when it
But
isn't done.
but
It's windows, it's
Restoration is something different, but
There's
from
a
a
crossover.
maintenance standpoint, we've hired people that now get a handle on what the maintenance is for buildings.
Right.
Right?
We've got Sean
And
available.
Right, and there is an operating budget.
Right.
That has to take care of that. It's not, to me, it's not capital outlay.
no,
And that's fine.
unless it's windows or,
That's fine.
That's not maintenance.
no.
Because you have a broken window versus a
Yeah, okay,
replacement
yeah,
window.
yeah,
Two
yeah,
different
yeah,
things.
yeah.
The bigger one is, we do this
Repair
on
and
boilers
replace.
all the time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just, can't you use Sean to do the report, or just each
I
one?
think it
Yes,
makes-
Sean gives us,
Yeah, but I think if I have, Tony shared a copy of what they did in Bourne. It's a pretty thorough review. They take pictures, they show where you need
So it's
to.
a glorified home inspection.
It is.
every
It is.
town
For every
is
building.
different.
Yeah, no, I got it.
And they rate them from A to F,
No, I
right?
get it. I get
And-
it.
Like the real estate.
And then
No, I get
Sean
it.
could take that information and put a plan together. It would help him.
To be fair to Sean, I don't think he would have the time.
No, I
to
agree.
fill
I
that
think
out.
it's over.
He's got a lot on
He
his.
does a
Yeah,
good
wow.
job.
Yeah.
We do a
He
lot
does
with
a great
one
job.
person.
Yeah, no, we
All
do.
right,
Brooks
so
Academy's
Thank
very
you, that
happy
helped.
with him.
can
That
I,
helped.
Good.
I'd like-
Okay.
Call me anytime.
can I get a motion for the capital outlay?
I make a motion with Adjourn?
Second.
You agree?
Second at 7:39.
You can't leave.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Commissioner.
coming.
I came here just to see you.
And I knew you were coming there.
You can't have.
Thank you, Paul.
Or do you have to stay?
So
with
can
the-
Paul go back on your committee now?
Turn your hat around.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes, absolutely.
See you again.
Okay.
Oh, you can go to this committee now.
I think we're
Or you want me to drive you?
I'll just,
Oh, no, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
About-
we're still in session. Gentlemen,
I'll send you my barber's name.
I'm getting coupons in the mail for discounts for haircuts too.
okay,
We have to wait till they leave.
okay, can we have the quiet?
Where Jersey from?
Because we're still in session.
Give them 2 minutes. 'Cause I gotta get.
Montclair.
Really?
Relax, take a drink.
Get out
Have a smoke,
the
you
door.
know, whatever.
Well,
Hey, don't say that.
It's been so many years, but I still want one. It never goes away.
No wonder, this guy's really smart.
I did all that
It's
maintenance
from
stuff.
It's
Montclair.
been 40 years since I've had a cigarette.
Is it 40? 30, about 30.
And I can tell you that when I hear someone is smoking, it's like,
Oh, no, it's got no point, it's like, it's awful.
no, but,
It comes back, don't worry. It's a cycle.
All right, we're back.
okay, here we are. So, I think we're gonna have to have capital outlay back. What I will do is I will put together the red line so we can be focused, the red line for the capital outlay. And you all have Sandy's thing, and you look at the two together,
Yeah.
and let's see what,
Yeah, oh, with the red
if
line, yeah,
there's,
no.
with the red line. But you all have the red line, but I'll get the red line to them.
I think you did a good job with it. I think there's some things I still, like we talked about, taking the land out. You know, we have to have the discussion.
Oh,
Can I ask at this point what we think about, does anyone change their opinion about the 2/3?
I have it.
I know, I certainly
feel for you, Paul.
but is anyone else?
Thanks.
Okay, one at a time, please.
Whatever that means.
I think the question that Richard just asked is, has anybody after this discussion, and all the information, I mean, it was pretty interesting to look through the stuff that Martha presented, going through all the changes, the comings and goings and this and that. And there's a ton of changes that happen, so should we be looking at the capital plan as every year it's a living document, and these are the projects, the stuff falls off, they come on, there's changes. Does that require a 2/3 vote and have people change their opinion? Richard?
I would like to hear Jay's input on it.
Yep.
Before I make a decision. I've not made a decision.
But we're undecided at this point.
Correct, I am.
I was a little troubled to hear that the taxpayers shouldn't control the capital.
Yeah, I didn't like that one either. I mean, you go to town meeting, the taxpayers have the final say on what is being spent.
And if you want to identify the biggest source of frustration and unhappiness everywhere in the town and the world, it's the taxpayers feel like they have been left out of the process, all over the place. And that should never happen.
Well, that happens at town meeting. I mean, this is an aside, but
Yeah.
it happens at town
It
meeting
happens all
because
the time.
there'll be articles that'll be put in. I mean, just recently, all the zoning finally showed up. But now, for the finance committee, they have to review and vote on those and put in their opinion by something like March 31st, because then it has to go to the printers and be printed and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's too late. And I think it's really important that in the charter, that it indicates in full final form by that mid-January date. Not full form, but after the town council fools around with it for 8 weeks. This stuff has to be done earlier, because now there's so little time to do any advertising, any discussion, and there's like 7 or 8 zoning.
And that's where looking at 2 town meetings might help.
I'm still struggling with the 2 town meetings. I'm struggling more with because I think that the same thing would happen, Richard. We'd have this, a zoning thing would be put in, and it would take 8 weeks, and we'd be 2 weeks before town meeting. I think the same thing would happen.
Just remember, what we've looked at in the entire charter is trying to do away with a lot of the, I call it Mickey Mouse things that the select board do every week. Next week's agenda, 25 different licenses that they have to vote on.
You gotta get rid
It's
of
gonna
those.
take them 2 hours in a meeting that they could be doing other things on. If the changes of this charter come into play, I think we'll make it a lot easier for 2 town meetings, and the work can be accelerated. And that the select board will have more time to deal with things like getting their warrant ready, rather than voting 25 licenses on a Monday night.
Didn't we talk at one point about whether or not it would be legitimate under Mass General Law, et cetera, municipal finance, that the select board could delegate the licenses to something else?
We did discuss that.
Let me put Collins on that, because I remember it was, because I had the question, I know that we have in our charter, it'll say town administrator or designate. Can the select board designate these licenses?
They can.
And
Yeah.
which ones? Because I don't know if they can do designate liquor license.
I did an AI query on that, and I don't have it with me, but as I recall, it came back in Massachusetts that they could,
Even liquor
Madam
licenses.
Chair?
I think so.
That would be cool.
Don't hold me to it.
As
but
we're
I think so.
discussing this, might we want to speak with one of the attendees in the audience?
If he would like to go belly up to the bar here,
I'm glad you asked. The only other thing.
you've gotta be
I-
closer
Come on,
so
oh,
that it picks
hey,
up.
Mike, grab a seat.
Here you go.
I don't wanna stay
Nice soft
too
one.
long,
We are
but.
joined at the table by Mark Kelleher.
No, I agree, you know, the liquor licenses are a formality to kind of bunch them up and go through. The other thing I would add is the utility easements. To have us, but even though it doesn't take much time, I mean, the town administrator has a meeting with you, let them decide. That to me is, it's kind of a way, again, it doesn't take much time, but I'd group the utility easements there too. And then you can kind of free up the select board to do
Would it be
more
enough-
policy type of
Would it
thing.
be enough to specify that the select board may delegate their authority?
I think that would be a good, in terms of nomenclature, yeah. Yeah.
Rather than being too specific about it.
Yeah, I think generalities work better, so.
Sometimes, not always.
So delegate authority to the town administrator
Or a designee.
or designate authority, you know,
You might
to
wanna
a
give it to the assistant town administrator.
Right.
designate,
And-
delegate an authority on certain things to a
Yeah.
designee. And that the select board would have the, because I think that makes sense, because every year, I know the ones that all appear in December. There's like hundreds of them. There's the milk license, there's all kinds of things. You guys have to vote for them, and you all have to sign them.
You could, there's some that may generate controversy, you pull those out, and then,
Right, you have
And you-
18 on Monday night to do.
do we really, I haven't looked
18,
at 18.
So, and that's, I mean, that could take you an hour. And the thing is, if you have an issue with something, you pull it.
Well, and hopefully when we do it on Monday night, maybe we could read it all as once and do one vote on it. I'm hopeful.
Because you also, the select board traditionally has done that with the consent agenda.
Mhm.
There'll be items on the consent
Yes,
agenda.
yeah.
One select board member will say, I'd like to hold number 3 and do that separately. Then 1, 2, and 4 become the consent agenda, 3 is separate. And they have traditionally done that. So I think they could also do the same thing in other things. We've actually had an interesting conversation with our town moderator. And he said that there are towns that are doing almost a consent agenda at town meeting, taking non-controversial items and sticking it in a
Customary.
all the customary stuff.
Sure.
Sticking it, and even ones with dollar values, the customary article for the chamber, or for the small libraries, or cultural council, human services, sticking them all in one. And it was a very interesting concept. So how do you think that the select board might feel about that?
Oh, I think the select board, I'm speaking for myself, but I think the select board would really like that. No one wants to be there past 2 nights. And I haven't seen the agenda yet, but I know we have all these petitions and stuff, and,
You have 12 of those to do.
so, yeah, I think we can really streamline things.
What you could do anyway and something like that, I mean, if you could bring it to the board when they're
Yeah.
doing the warrant and suggest they do that. There's nothing to stop you guys from
No,
actually
there's nothing.
structuring it that way.
Repeat that, maybe I'll call you again, I wanna put
The select board
forward, yeah.
has the authority to arrange the warrant any way you want to.
Okay.
So if you decided, like, you bring it up to a meeting, bring it up to Don, whatever, that you wanted to try doing an omnibus article for all of those customary
Yeah.
articles at the head of the meeting, there's nothing to stop you from doing that.
Yeah.
And any voter can say, well, wait, Mr.
Right.
Moderator, can we pull out the human services, because I don't think we should be funding that.
Yeah.
And then you set one aside. Michael is already familiar with the process, you could talk to him about it.
I went through the 2025 the warrant, and I said, really quickly, what would I say are non-controversial? Choose town officers and committees, reports of town officers and committees, the elected official officers' salaries, the lease purchase agreement, the article that is, we give you the authorization in turn to leases, fund prior year unpaid bills, which is generally $0.50. It's very rarely any big dollar, it's something little. The allocation of the cultural council, I said defray the cost to the 2 private public libraries. And I threw in the herring fisheries, although that would be controversial, because
That
that's
would
always
be-
the last one.
That's heresy.
Yeah, that would be heresy. So,
We'll stay away from
To
that.
some.
But-
That's the last article. that's
but
right.
I
That's
just
the end.
quickly came up with one motion or one article which would put all of these in there, and it's yes, no, done. And takes off, that just took a half an hour off town meeting. So, it's that
Maybe we
kind
could do
of,
it for this year. I'll suggest it to Mr. Howell, and maybe in the selectmen's report at the end of the meeting, even mention it.
that would be great.
Talk to Michael.
And that's the idea behind, at some point, taking some of your items in your select board agenda and doing, really, you've only got 2 items on the consent agenda for this week. You have 12 articles and 18 licenses to look at. You know, the majority of those licenses could be in the consent agenda.
Yeah, they could have.
Maybe we can even do it this week. I'll have to talk to Don and see how to do it.
Your agenda's already up.
Well,
Right,
your
it's already
agenda's
up.
posted,
You're
it's
already
done.
done.
But maybe that's a discussion at the end of the meeting. Can we start taking these things? Because I know that in the town administrator's office, when somebody has their license renewal, they have to provide insurance certificates and this and that, all kinds of documentation. And if there's a checklist before that license renewal even gets on the agenda. So it's already been fully vetted.
Fully vetted by the staff, yep. And the whole idea, if you're doing that and you're gaining a half an hour for select board meeting, then you can do some of these things that need to get before town meeting in an accelerated fashion.
Yeah, makes great sense.
Cool.
One
trying
other
to be
point
simple.
that Mike made last time, that maybe the select board could consider incorporating without it being in the chart, and that's to start the town meeting earlier in the evening. Instead of starting at 7 o'clock, 6:30 or 6 o'clock, and that would allow people to.
I thought I heard at the last meeting, I thought I
They
heard a
did
6
discuss
o'clock
that.
start.
I was just listening tonight to it.
Yeah, and I think it would make
Emily
great
was
sense.
talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, they were talking about a Monday night select board meeting, that
Yeah.
concept of just moving it back to 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that would make great sense.
It might make more people come and stay, because that's the whole objective. I agree with you, Sandy, I wasn't happy with the comment of, town meeting shouldn't have anything to say about the capital plan. Town meeting spends the money. They're the authorizing spending the money. They're the other half of the contract.
They're the reason we're here
And they're the reason we're here.
and there.
When you get to that 2/3, too, things can be done with majority very quickly, very easily.
I know.
Some things we have
I
to
think
do
they
by
don't-
2/3
Right,
debt.
what are the
certain things.
unintended consequences of making certain changes?
Well, it sort of begs the question of if you can just make it that easy each and every time, what's the point of having a plan? It changes every year entirely.
But at what point do we, I don't have an opinion yet on the 2/3, but at what point do we say that the group of people over here who are supposed to be reviewing in detail and going through it and, writing all over it and asking all the questions and doing visits, etc., at what point have they done the work and we have to have some trust in what they've done? Or how much second guessing are you supposed to do when you have a committee that is working on the same thing with any committee? If they've done their job, and it's all about doing their job.
Absolutely.
If they've done their job to vet everything, then whatever proposal is put forth, you have to have some level of trust that they have done the vetting before they have said, we want to spend $50,000 on such and thus. So at what point where are we in this?
Well, I would be interested to know how much time is spent currently going over the same ground that you went over last year to reestablish what's a priority.
It's a good
If
point.
they've already been established. And if something has changed in those priorities, then it shouldn't be hard to explain to the voters what's changed and get their 2/3 vote. Because I've never seen a change in the capital plan or in the current year's capital outlay budget, and there have been those over the years at various times, that ever got turned down by town meeting once they understood why.
Shannon, and I was supporting that argument last week. 34 changes is substantial.
to
But
see
why
that,
were there
those
34
schedules.
changes?
And you know what, my note was to go back and look at it, watch the meeting, to see, I don't know. And I was remiss in not asking that tonight from them. That's a lot of changes.
Well, if it was a static last 4 years, again, I come back to how much time is being spent going over the same ground you've been over, when you could make the job much easier if you were just looking at that year 5 or anything that was compelling to change the rest of the plan.
The other issue is that, the fact that with Mr. Larios, who was 15-year chair, and
Never paid attention to the journey.
no one looked at the charter.
No.
No one looked at the charter. So is it that big a deal, 2/3 versus a majority? We haven't functioned that way in the last 15 years. And we're hearing 34 changes was substantial.
But we did function that way for a good many years, and there was never a problem.
Well, this is the point of
Why do it?
guardrails, do the job.
But it's also good, if it functioned fine with the 2/3, and it functioned fine by not having a 2/3, then it's not the 2/3 or have 2/3,
Right.
that's the issue.
Right, it's do the job,
It's do the job.
follow the charter.
So,
Are you kicking me under the table?
No,
Don't play footsie with me.
you're way over there, I'm way over
I'm
here.
still waiting for him to smack either
Is there
person on
something-
their
is there
side
some-
when he
is there
starts with
something we
them.
should know?
Pardon?
Is there something we should know?
This is a,
Not,
this is
not
a,
at this time.
no, not at this time.
I think we're
Had to ask.
on public air.
All right, the two of you. Okay, next week, because I think there's gonna be, we're not bringing capital back next week.
No.
But I think we need to go through the open issues. I'll send out the list that I've been keeping of open issues. We've got some things, I was gonna ask the delegate. I think that we've got a bunch of things that, one of the things is we've made a bunch of changes to the red line, which I've been keeping track of. Do you want me to try to fit those into the red line, like taking out that whole chapter 5 on town organization? And then we can just take one more pass through before releasing it to the general public.
If you're going to do a digest of what we've, a compilation of what we've done, would this be just without any redlining in it, just what it would look like if we did the things that we've discussed doing so far?
I was proposing taking the red line we have and like taking out the whole section 5, putting a red line through most of section 5.
See, and I think people,
It's getting really hard to read.
if I were not sitting in this committee, on this commission, and I was saying, well, we've suggested X number of changes, my first reaction, well, what are the changes? That's why a red line is so important to me. Well, I need to see what you've changed. I can read it through, but then I have to get the older copy to see, oh, I can't compare that. Show me a red line. I want to see what changes have been made.
And I think, and that's the conversation that I've had with a few people already, is, do you want, they're looking for, the people who know what a red line is, they know what they're looking for. And you're right, Richard, they want to know, here's how well it's written now, and this has been lined out, and this new wording has been put in, and it's in red. Here we go. Now, my suggestion would be that we put it on our website, our webpage.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I think we need to do that before we have thought to going back to the select board for a report,
Oh,
and
yeah.
having another public meeting. Which
But I think we need
should
to have the red line out
No, I
and then
agree.
have a public meeting.
No, I agree, but that's.
So does that make sense? I know I'm not gonna be able to have the time over between now and trying to get this to you by Tuesday. So I'd like to have 2 weeks to do
Fine,
that,
that's fine.
because I know I don't have the time to do it.
Because we still have things that we didn't get through
And we
tonight.
will see it before we put it up
Actually,
on the
we will.
website, correct?
Oh, yeah, I would come back here, we'd go through it, and then it would go up. What do you think we didn't get through? I think we got through everything.
Did we get through the subcommittee's discussion of financial areas of the charter?
It's not on me, it's not on the agenda tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was last week's. I'm sorry.
So we have to go back.
Because I figured we were gonna spend most of our time in this capital plan discussion.
I'm sorry. So we did. I apologize.
So I think also next week would be our finance subcommittee report. We will finally get to that.
I'm gone, but
Are you
that's
gonna be
okay. I'll be out of here, but.
Well, you can phone in.
Paul, how long will you be not, gone? when do
I
we-
don't know that I'm coming back.
Can't
Okay.
say that I blame him.
It's a secret. at least the latter part of April.
Okay, so you'll permit us to be gone middle of next 6 to 7 weeks. Okay.
Well, yeah, 6 weeks.
I'll just have one meeting.
Okay. Good. All right.
They have phones.
May I have a motion?
So
Richard,
moved,
please.
Madam Chair.
Second. All those in favor?
I will.
Enjoy yourself, Paul.
Turn the
I'll be thinking of you.
Dearly to
Turn the
I'll
button
miss these
off.
meetings, but.
John, John,
your tongue tonight?
Needs a couple more.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
unfortunate she's going against this. Interesting.
Oh, that was very nice.
It's much better. Gets a good handle on it.
we off?
It's a good committee. It's a good committee.
It's amazing.
You know, why didn't we,
Wait, do you like
Like, I didn't, I was told not to say anything,
Yeah,
so I didn't.
it's time will
Just
happen,
because
you know, whether
Well,
we
you heard my
usher it in or
point.
whether it
It was like,
forces it.
and now it's way. Well, I was thinking
No,
about
but now
it.
they're gonna be.
That's okay, I mean.
Up there,
When you, if you're not coming.
16%, oh yeah.
Let's make a deal. Tell me your best. I don't.
Well, hey,
Okay?
you know my deal.
Please.
We need to get together.
It's gonna come back.